Intercontinental Champion.
Get it right, Mooney. The greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. History will be made tonight. Excellence of execution versus perfection. Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect. Well, Bret the Hitman Hart, the Intercontinental belt says Wrestling Champion on it. And for you to be a champion, you have to be perfect. You are excellent, but you're not perfect. There's only one Mr. Perfect, and you're looking at him.
Welcome to Last Match Standing, the podcast where we review, relive, and rank the greatest wrestling matches of all time. As always, I'm Spenser.
I'm excellent.
But I'm perfect.
And today, from August 26th, 1991, from New York City, New York, and Madison Square Garden, it's SummerSlam, Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect for the Intercontinental title.
Not to be outdone by Roddy Piper completely overshadowing everyone on commentary.
It's episode 70. It's episode 70.
What a milestone.
Wow. And...
Wow.
Wow.
And...
Wow.
It's part 2 of our Hebner doubleheader.
It is.
That's right. Earl Hebner officiating this match as well.
For the first time on the podcast. No.
You know what?
Mike Chioda.
That's Mike Chioda. This is actually, you could say that this has been, episode 69 and 70 have been a perfect Hebner doubleheader. As Mr. Perfect on the announce team for episode 69 now in the ring.
Do you see what he's done there, Landon?
Is it a Hebner doubleheader or is it a perfect doubleheader?
Both.
I don't know.
Both.
It's both. It's both at this point.
Naturally.
But I know Paul mentioned that Roddy Piper is on commentary, but you know who else is on commentary? And we're, in Last Mania Standing, we're up to Mania 24 now. So it's been a while. But Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan.
the Brain Heenan. Oh.
And
when I heard that voice,
best. Yeah,
I was stoked.
If you answer everyone's questions, yes, we get plenty. Would you stop it? Are you kidding me? We get a few of those on commentary tonight.
And I love it so much.
This match is a technical wrestling masterpiece, and I am so excited to cover it on the episode today.
You know,
Yes.
you know what I'm excited to talk about is Mr. Perfect with the coach.
The coach.
Not Jonathan Coachman.
Who the hell is the coach?
The coach is the coach. He blew a whistle and he
and
he stood in the apron because he didn't really get involved that much.
He didn't.
No.
And I actually love that Bobby the Brain Heenan critiques the coach throughout the match, like as Mr. Perfect's former manager.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely ideal, right? It's coming from one of the best managers, obviously, in history, right? Man, it's super, super excited to jump into this one. Something that's super worth noting. This is not the first match that Bret Hart has been in on our list. This is not the first match that Mr. Perfect has been in on our list. But it could be the first time that we have someone in two matches that are back-to-back years at the same event. Bret Hart, SummerSlam 1991 now against Mr. Perfect. Already on our list, Bret Hart against the British Bulldog from SummerSlam 92.
Wow.
Also for the Intercontinental Championship.
So true.
How about that?
So this is sort of the story getting us to 92 because prior to this, Bret Hart had never tasted Intercontinental Championship gold.
Nope.
And so his
singles title?
his efforts winning the championship and then obviously losing it to Bulldog the very next year, both being considered, at least in our book, two of the greatest wrestling matches of all time.
What I'm hearing is we need to do SummerSlam 1993, which is Bret Hart versus Doink the Clown. I mean, we got to get the trifecta of Bret Hart matches.
If you would like to hear Bret Hart versus Doink the Clown from SummerSlam 1993, please let us know at Last Match Cast.
I'll review it by myself if I have to.
Yeah, definitely let us know on Last Match Cast if you want to hear that one or anything else for that matter. We love taking your match suggestions. Obviously, it would be super helpful if you subscribe and rate us and review us and all that stuff on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to this show. It's always appreciated. Something that Paul, Landon, and I love maybe more than anything about this show is our listeners. Just some really incredible folks that we've been able to meet with and talk to and get to know, some of you on a personal level. And it's been a real treat for us. So thanks so much for enjoying the show so far. And definitely make yourself a part of it any way you can. We'd love if you did that. But we would be remiss to not mention perhaps the VIPs of this match from the crowd. And that is, of course,
Vlad the Superfan.
No.
He's there.
That is, of course, Stu and Helen Hart.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am Roland Alfred Hayes here, and I'm now with the parents of Bret Hart. I've got Stu and Helen. Stu, what do you think about that?
My son Bret had wrestled the match, and
Stu, you sound completely speechless. So we're going back to you, Gorilla Monsoon.
I wasn't finished talking yet. I'm gonna stretch you, Lord Alfred Hayes.
Tell him, Helen. That's right, Stu. You're going to stretch him.
I think.
No doubt about it.
I think my favorite part was when they show them for the very first time. They're clapping during Bret Hart's entrance, and Bobby Heenan goes, "Great rhythm."
I love Bobby Heenan.
So you want to hear a great Bobby Heenan joke because we're not going to have another chance to talk about it?
Great rhythm. It's fucking
so
gold.
In early '93, Doink has a segment where he has a garbage can, and Bobby's on commentary. He says, "Yeah, the garbage collector came by Stu and Helen's house, and Stu asked the garbage man, 'Are you still collecting garbage?' 'Yeah, hop in.'" And I'm like, "God damn it, Bobby, that's horrible."
Okay.
Helen made her way out of the antique store for this one.
Just for this match.
I like to see Stu Hart in his orthopedic tuxedo. They always hated Owen.
Okay. We got serious business to get to.
When Bobby Heenan is in the same arena as Stu and Helen Hart, we cannot keep it together. It's no secret that Bret Hart got his start in the ring with the technical prowess fine-tuned from the man himself, his father's dungeon in Calgary. Highly regarded as one of the greatest in-ring competitors of all time, Hart's legacy began by working in tag team matches, obviously, as part of the Hart Foundation. However, as early as 1988, Hart did get chances to work singles matches with the likes of Bad News Brown and the Honky Tonk Man. And while these matches weren't bad by any stretch of the imagination, they weren't a good showcase of the tools that Bret had in his toolbox. I mean, we're talking about Bret the Hitman Hart, who we know what he can do. But back then, no one's seen it. So in order to deliver the kind of performances that he wanted, he needed someone with the technical background similar to his dungeon peers. Well, in May of 1989, he got that chance as AWA standout Curt Hennig made his way back to the WWF. And, his first run, he was in a tag team, and it didn't with Bobby Eaton. Was it Bobby Eaton?
Yeah, I don't think Bobby Eaton was ever.
It wasn't Bobby Eaton. It was, damn it, Eddie Gilbert. Was it Eddie? No, it wasn't Hot Stuff.
No.
Who the fuck was it?
It was Eddie Gilbert.
It was Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. Made his way back to the WWF, his original run being a tag team outing with Eddie Gilbert that lasted very shortly. However, Bret and Curt would wrestle more than 30 matches over the course of the WWF house show circuit, and almost all of them ending in a draw. This series of matches would end with a bout featured on WWF Primetime that would see an undefeated Mr. Perfect roll up Bret Hart for a 3 count. This is an incredible point in time for these two to clash, because on one hand, you've got a young, hungry Bret Hart desperately trying to break out of the tag team division and prove himself as a championship caliber competitor. And on the other hand, you've got Perfect, who's coming into the WWF and given an undefeated streak, made to look untouchable, and spoiler alert, he had the talent to back it up.
Well, he was perfect.
The two would move on to sort of go their own way for a while after this, as Bret would win Tag Team Championship gold with the Hart Foundation. As for Perfect, he would go on to take advantage of the vacated IWGP.
Vacant IWGP title.
Wishful
We
thinking.
wish.
Wishful thinking.
Can you imagine Mr. Perfect showing up on primetime wrestling with the IWGP title,
Intercontinental belt?
and that's explained like, oh yes, Mr. Perfect went to Japan for a few weeks. There are other wrestling shows besides us.
That would be crazy, especially considering that the WCW had a working relationship with NJPW at this time.
I know.
But no, the vacated WWF Intercontinental Championship due to the Ultimate Warrior winning the WWF Championship at Spenser. What WrestleMania was that again?
That was WrestleMania. Fuck you.
Ooh.
If anyone doesn't know why we're teasing Spenser, there was an interesting
Garbage
flub on last trivia standing over on our Patreon page. You should definitely check that out. If you want to hear the downfall.
Thank you
of
for
Spenser.
that general reminder of my incompetencies.
Well, you won the championship, so whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
You're the
Spoiler alert.
fifth. You're a 5-time champion now.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Five-time.
So-
Oh my God, a spin Rooney.
Right now.
So after the
A
Warrior,
Spenser Rooney.
Whoa. If you want that content, you got to pay for it, buddy.
after the Warrior vacated the belt, a tournament was held to determine the new champion, and the tournament would crown Mr. Perfect as the new Intercontinental Champion. As Perfect pinned. Does anyone know who Perfect pinned in the final round of the vacated Intercontinental Championship tournament?
Rick Rude.
Nope.
Was this in Rio de Janeiro?
No, it was not.
Marty Jannetty.
No. Not unlike Marty Jannetty. And this guy's actually had great matches with... No. I'm sorry. I was thinking Rick Martel. No, not Marty Jannetty. He had great matches with Rick Martel. He had a great match with Ric Flair.
Jake the Snake.
Nope.
Tito Santana.
Tito Santana.
Ooh, yeah,
You
that
found
makes
it.
sense. That makes sense.
Perfect pin Tito to win the Intercontinental Championship.
Is this before or after he became the Matador?
Oh, God.
It's
probably-
91. I don't think he's Matador yet.
No, probably right around then, though.
I think Matador is 92.
With his new shiny gold, Perfect attracted the managerial services of none other than Bobby the Brain Heenan. The perfect pair, if you ask me.
Win if you can, lose if you must.
But
always
always
cheat.
cheat. So good. Seriously, these two could have had and should have had a WWF championship run.
Well, honestly, if it hadn't been for a certain Bulk Blogan, it probably would have.
I'm sorry. Who was that?
Bulk Blogan.
I just heard Invisible Wrestler. I don't know.
Vacant.
Vacant. Hennig would slide into a months-long feud. What's a feud? A month-long
That's
feud.
what everything that Logan was in.
That's right. That's right. With the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, who
One leg.
would see him lose, 1 foot, technically. He was missing a foot,
Sorry.
not a whole leg, right?
You couldn't tell when he wrestled.
No, not at all. Which would see him lose and regain the Intercontinental strap going into 1991. Hennig would carry the Intercontinental Championship into WrestleMania 7, where he successfully defended the belt against the Big Boss Man, albeit by disqualification.
If you ever take a trip down to Cobb County, Georgia.
Meanwhile,
God, you know what? I just gotta
Hang on.
say, I don't know if there's a more professional podcast out there than the three of us.
you know what? We do it right.
I mean, this is it. I mean, come on.
It's quality content.
Quality content.
We're a musical act.
That-
Bret's championship run alongside Jim Neidhart was one of the hottest tag acts in the world and certainly a pillar of WWF's success in the early 90s. But after WrestleMania 7, Bret found himself without a tag team partner, and Vince McMahon, remembering what he'd seen between Hart and Perfect during their house show run, decided to book Hart Perfect for the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam 1991.
And it was a very intelligent decision.
Genius. Oh, and just by the way, obviously this match, this episode is coming out the week of SummerSlam. And I'm sure everyone is super excited. It's actually a decent card this year.
It is. Yeah,
I'm
there's some good stuff
very much looking forward to it. So this is our little hat tip to SummerSlam week for all you out there.
There you are.
And going back into one of the most decorated matches in SummerSlam history. I mean, and I feel like this is a match that might be slipping through the cracks. A lot of people don't talk about this one.
Yeah.
It feels similarly to me to our last episode, Michael's Mankind Mind Games. It's one of those that when you watch it, you're like, damn, like, wow, like this is really incredible stuff.
You know what the problem is?
But people don't reference it.
I think the problem is people hear the name Mr. Perfect and assume it's just a stupid gimmick. And they probably are discrediting just how fucking amazing Curt Hennig was.
Well, let me tell you just how fucking amazing Curt Hennig is. Unfortunately, in a match prior to SummerSlam, Mr. Perfect suffered a bulged disc and broken tailbone thanks to a hard Irish whip into the corner. He was so hurt that the SummerSlam 1991 match should have never happened.
No, he should not have been walking, let alone wrestling.
But it did, and Perfect was never quite the same in the ring afterward.
Okay, let me tell you both a story. So there is a running condition in my family. My dad has had issues with bulging discs. My brother has had issues with bulging discs.
My dad has too.
And I have had issues with bulging discs.
Mm-hmm.
You can't stand up.
It's so painful.
You can't move. You can't stand up straight. You can't sit in a chair. You can't lay on your back. And you certainly can't have a 17-minute fucking wrestling match. Pair that with a broken tailbone, and you can't walk.
The thing is, he knew that his back was shot, but Curt refused to go out without putting over Bret on his way.
Because he's a fucking professional.
I mean, but not that he should have. This is the thing. It's like,
oh, no,
I appreciate what he was doing.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying go out there and fucking hurt yourself for our fans. I'm just saying he did it because he knew it was the right thing to do. He knew that it was I cannot believe I'm going to say this. He knew that it was best for business.
But it's the truth, and he appreciated the wrestling business more than anything, and it shows in this match. Hennig went into this match planning on retiring. He was hurt. He had a retirement policy ready for him if it really was going to be a career-ending injury.
Yep. Lloyd's of London.
So his mindset going into this one was, this is it. And so just going into this match with that veil, just look at this match like this is your last match, and it sort of changes how you're going to perform. And I feel like we got one of the best performances of his career. Bret Hart reflected on this match, saying the fact that Curt worked so hard in that match when he was in considerable amount of pain. And he did it, and he did it out of respect for me. He says
you cannot tell that he's hurt in this match.
He says it's one of those things you don't forget. If someone said to me, "That's it, that's as high as you'll ever get in this business," that's as high as I ever needed to go. I mean, just amazing respect between these two guys.
I don't think. Very few people have negative things to say about Curt Hennig. I will say, I always heard the story that he would gargle Jack Daniels to prove he was doing shots. Something that I tried to do. I didn't try. I did it. And I did it once, and I'm like, I'm never doing that again.
Pass the JD. Let's do it right now. In honor of Curt Hennig, let's do it right now.
You want to talk about burning your fucking throat?
Yeah.
Yeah. Listener at home. Do not gargle Jack Daniels. Drink it. Don't gargle it. Don't do it.
Even in his pre-match promo here, Perfect gives Bret his props. And he says, "You are excellent. The excellence of execution. But you're not perfect."
Come on, coach.
I just absolutely love everything that Curt Hennig brings to the table, and this match is no exception.
Yeah, and it's a match that obviously in 1991 these guys were still incredible, but the legacies were yet to be cemented necessarily. They were well on their way. You know what I mean? Like, this is obviously a big step. And Mr. Perfect a little further along, I would say, than Bret, at least in terms of more high-profile things happening.
Yeah, even though he's actually younger than Bret.
Right.
True, but he's had legendary runs with the AWA World Title.
yeah.
People know the name Curt Hennig.
Oh,
in the
yeah.
wrestling world.
Kurt went down to Memphis and had like a stellar feud with Jerry fucking Lawler.
But this match is one that, in Madison Square Garden, 20,000-ish or so people, quote unquote, this crowd loves every bit of this match between Bret Hart and Mr. Perfect. They love it. They are respectful of Perfect and his ability, but they want Bret Hart to win this title.
Oh, yeah. So as this match begins, we're reminded at the top of the match that these are the two most technically gifted wrestlers in the WWF. And that is the most true statement I think I've ever heard from Bobby Heenan's mouth.
Paul, what was the main event of SummerSlam 1991?
Well, if you read the show tag on Peacock, it says the main event is Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior, versus Slaughter, Mustafa, and General Adnan.
Right.
But you let me know earlier that's not the main event.
No, that's the last match on the card. The main event is the wedding between Macho Man and Elizabeth.
That's exactly right.
And it's the only wedding that had no shenanigans.
This match, Bret Hart and Mr. Perfect, is the second match on the card.
That's a damn shame.
Is this the only second match that we have on this list?
Sounds believable to me.
No, Jericho Mysterio.
Jericho Mysterio is the second match. That's
also
very
for
true.
the IC title.
That's very true. Wow.
Yeah, interesting. But point is that it tells such a stark difference between Hart and Perfect and what was considered main event at the time.
Oh yeah, they completely outworked everybody on the show.
Exactly, they absolutely did, and it's more reminiscent of a style that we're still 4-ish years away from
several years
really getting as more important in the WWF. But that doesn't prevent Bret Hart and Mr. Perfect from putting on an instant classic here at SummerSlam.
And I just love how, yes, they do start off with this very, very technical ground game, but they're very quick to go, you know what? I'm going to hip toss you through the ropes out of the ring.
Incredible start to this match. And honestly, this is one of those matches, and I know I've said this before, but this match feels like it's in fast forward for a lot of it. It is just so quick.
They don't stop.
That hip toss that gets Perfect out of the ring and just gets him shook very, very early on. There's a beautiful sunset flip by Bret Hart that then gets turned into a headlock. It's really, Hart is making Mr. Perfect wrestle this match, which makes Perfect blink first and give us our first strike when he chops Bret Hart. But a really interesting story there about the up-and-coming challenger getting the champion off of his game.
And how does the champion react to that? Watch Kurt's hands throughout this entire match. He is pulling Bret's hair.
Oh, yeah.
From start to finish, every opportunity that Bret gives him to get his hand anywhere near that curly hair of Bret Hart.
And he always finds a way to hide it from Earl.
And it's such a perfect heel move because it distracts him from the offense, right? Yeah, he noticed that Bret was on fire and he was getting the upper hand early on. So what does he do? What can I do to distract him and get him to just essentially shift into a different momentum?
Mm-hmm. Make him start fighting defensively.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. And I thought it was a fascinating story to tell. And really, and on the commentary team, Monsoon, Heenan, and Piper are doing a good job helping push that story along. Piper's, a lot, and Heenan can be a lot, right? I get it. And it especially, and I understand Piper being a lot, especially considering his parents ran away from home, according to Bobby Heenan. But it's a really interesting story. Piper hardcore rooting for Hart, Heenan hardcore rooting for Perfect, and the reason why that works here is because they are both able to explain the whys behind what's happening, and as experienced as both of them are in their respective roles, it just makes a lot of sense with Monsoon being the one that's pushing it all forward. I really appreciate what they're able to do here as a collective unit in this match.
I loved it. Mr. Perfect is incredible. Eagle-eyed viewers may be able to see some little adjustments that he makes in this one, like sitting into some of the spots instead of taking the back bump, for example.
Yeah.
But for the most part, every adjustment that he makes to protect his back in this match is extremely subtle and looks 1,000% legit, regardless of the fact of if it's how you normally take a bump or not.
Yeah, because, Kurt was known for flopping all over the damn ring like a damn fish.
And he still does.
He does.
But he does it in a safer way this time that does not detract from the match. And if you didn't know his back was hurt, I would be really impressed if you could tell.
I couldn't tell.
I think maybe only because Gorilla Monsoon at one point points out that, oh, look at that move, must have really hurt.
Well, Bret does do a backbreaker at one point, and then Kurt starts selling his back.
And you know what? I really feel like that protected him more than anything else.
Agreed. Because then Perfect at that point is able to adjust things to protect that back
with it making sense with the story of the match. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I just got to mention the quick, crisp offense by both men is so entertaining,
start to finish.
But you know what's really entertaining? Bret getting Irish whipped into the barricade.
Oh yeah, how about that barricade spot?
Well, here's the deal.
I'm sorry.
Here's the deal. I'm going to let it slide because in between Bret Hart and the barricade was one of those international photographers.
This is why I brought it up.
So, listen, I never said I hated photographer spots.
Okay, fair enough.
The photographer who completely no-sold being sandwiched.
He sure did.
He says, oh, I'm in the way, I'm sorry. And Bret's were like, get the fuck out of the way. You're ruining my match.
At one point, Hennig drop kicks Hart out of the ring and takes the time to smile for the camera.
Love it.
It is just so great.
You know what it is, Landon?
It's perfect.
God damn it, I was going to say that.
It's so perfect.
But you know what's even more perfect than that is Kurt saying, you know what? I don't need this match. And, going, you know what? No, waving it off. Not for Bret says, get back here. And Bret tears the singlet.
Tears off that singlet.
Yeah,
he tears off part of the singlet.
He does. It's like one of the straps just completely
rips down.
The coach is leading Perfect away from the ring. Like, okay, listen, this guy's giving you a lot to handle. We should probably just call it quits. While we're ahead, keep our title. But Bret Hart, knowing he has to actually win this match to win the title, does go to pull Perfect back in the ring. And a little unfortunate that he rips the gear there just because Perfect has to sort of struggle with it a little bit throughout the course of the rest of the match to make sure he keeps his gear on.
I think he just kind of like tucks it into the side because it stops flopping all over the place.
Yeah. But it's kind of makes for a good turning point in the match because things get back into the ring and we sort of see this Hart having the momentum until Perfect punches or strikes or takes it off of the ground game because again he's got Perfect sort of off of his game right now because Hart has got all the momentum on his side.
We get the patented Bret Hart being thrown to the turnbuckle as hard as only he can hit it.
The sternum spot, gotta love it.
Every time, which is followed by a snap neck breaker and a drop kick.
Mm-hmm.
When Hart goes back to the well for a crucifix pin, which he hit one in the early parts of the match, Perfect remembers this and just drops straight down, slamming Hart for a near fall.
brilliant.
Yeah. Perfect has that moment where he can do this perfect plex and win the match, but he doesn't do it. And everybody on commentary is like, he's going to regret that. He is going to regret not putting Bret Hart away right now. He's toying with him. Stop toying with him, Perfect, and pin him. And you got to beat.
And he does regret it because after he hits the perfect plex, it's not enough.
Yeah, Hart kicks out.
I mean, did you hear the silence around the arena when Perfect hits it? It's just beautiful. And the eruption when Hart kicks out is just phenomenal. This crowd is hype. Second match of the night.
Yeah, and they are all in. And
How do you follow this?
Well, you just embarrass yourself by trying.
Bret, after this, hits Russian leg sweeps, forearm drops, and just not getting the 3 count. And you start to see a little bit of frustration setting in for the Hitman.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because Hart and Mr. Perfect do sort of tussle a little bit with Hebner about the 2 counts and kickouts because it's hard to believe, right? And it's an interesting moment when Mr. Perfect goes up to Hebner, especially this is around the Perfect Plex time, and he goes up to Hebner and he's like, "That was 3. Like I don't know what you're talking about." And on commentary, Bobby Heenan says, "Oh, you probably don't want to touch the official. You're going to get disqualified." And Gorilla Monsoon says, "Well, he'd keep his title then, wouldn't he?" And then Bobby Heenan says, "Nail him." That's perfect.
Oh, I love the banter between those two.
You can see sort of an obvious shift in strategy from Bret. After his offense just ends up not being enough, he sort of laser focuses in on Perfect's leg, setting him up for that all too dangerous sharpshooter. And sort of, you get a little bit of a back and forth at this point. Perfect takes advantage of the distraction by the coach, and the crowd just rallies behind Bret. Anytime that Perfect is able to do some sort of dastardly heel move to turn the tables on Bret, you just hear, "Let's go, Bret! Let's go, Bret!" I mean, it's just really, really fun to see because this is not the Bret Hart WWF champion. This is his first time really getting to break out as a single
It's
star.
his coming out party.
It is.
This is an authentic reaction.
It really is.
You know what I mean? It's not manufactured. It's not created. It's not made up. It is fans really love Bret Hart.
They're saying, this is our guy. This is our guy. And in a year, he's WWF champion.
Yep. So super, super interesting, right? And I like the sort of closing moments of this match. I like the finish. I like the last. This match is only 18 minutes. The last 6 minutes are really, really impressive. Not the least of which was Hart hitting a suplex and Gorilla Monsoon saying on commentary, "Suplex City coming up."
Oh no!
Precursor.
Yep.
He was foreshadowing.
He knew. He
years.
fucking knew it.
Yeah. But what ends up happening is the focus does go, Landon, like you said, to the legs of Mr. Perfect, but also Mr. Perfect, when he's trying to sort of rebound from that, is going after Bret Hart's sort of midsection. He kicks the rope into Hart, and then he goes for a leg drop in between Hart's legs.
Oh, I love this so much.
Which turns into one of the best sharpshooters I've ever seen.
Bret sweeps his outside leg and from his back rolls into the sharpshooter.
It is a tight sharpshooter.
Oh, Perfect taps out immediately.
Almost immediately.
It's locked in. He said yes, ring the bell.
It looks brutal. Because you kind of also have to think sharpshooter is not good.
Not the ideal move
for someone with a hurt back.
Yeah. Oh, my lower back is hurt. I want you to roll me backwards and sit on my broken tailbone.
It's exactly what he did, and it's a quick tap out and a changing of the guard.
Excuse me. It's a quick audio submission because they didn't tap out then.
True.
That's my mistake. I'm sorry.
Prior to the tap out.
Twitter, I corrected myself. I don't need
that
you
is
to do it
Paul
for
T. Altazan.
I corrected myself. I don't need you to remind me that tap outs did not become a thing until 97.
But you will anyway.
You're going to do it anyway. I'm just saying, I know. We're not doing Correction Corner next week because we've already done it.
Oh yeah, that thing we do every week.
Every week. It goes without fail. It's amazing. We're so consistent. But Bret Hart wins the Intercontinental title at SummerSlam 1991.
And then he takes the ultimate prize by removing the rest of Mr. Perfect Singlet.
He sure does. He takes the rest of Perfect Singlet. He goes into the crowd to interrupt Lord Alfred's interview with Stu.
Oh, Stu, you're completely speechless.
Yes, my son is Intercontinental Champion. Yes, he's going to stretch him.
And if you wanted to know what follows one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time, it's the Natural Disasters versus the Bushwhackers.
Oh, that's definitely going to be a 4 3/4 star match.
So episode 71? Am I right? No? Okay.
It sounds Natural Disasters and Bushwhackers. Sounds like something that happens in my bathroom.
I was going to say, I bet that match was a disaster.
Favorite moments.
The singlet being ripped.
When the coach tries to distract Bret Hart from putting on the sharpshooter, and he knocks him immediately off the apron, and Bobby Heenan yells, "He hit a man with glasses!"
I really loved whenever Bret Hart was sort of able to get a series of moves in, right? He hits that Russian leg sweep in that forearm. The
backbreaker.
And you see this sort of moment, this gear shift in his head where he starts believing himself that he can be the Intercontinental Champion. I really love those sort of moments in folks who haven't won the big one yet. And this is their first sort of go at maybe I really am this good. I love seeing that look in someone's eyes, and I see it here.
Beautiful.
I love the moment where they're both on the second rope, which is, of course, the deadliest rope. But they don't do a move off of it. I'm like, oh, that would have been too deadly.
That was weird, right? Am I like that wasn't on purpose?
When they both fall off the top?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Who am I to say? But it looked like a botch to me. It looked like Bret Hart fell off, and then there was a delay.
Yeah.
Mr. Perfect fell off later.
I think you're right.
It was weird. I think it didn't. To me, it looked
I think the problem is that it was the second rope, and as I said before, that is the deadliest rope. You gotta be careful up there.
Well, they were on the outside. You know, like they were outside on the apron
Oh
onto
yeah,
the second rope.
it would have been really bad if they had had an actual tumble.
It just, it didn't take that much away from the match for me. Like I didn't think it was awful or anything. It just was noticeable.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was definitely scared for a second because it almost looked as if Kurt's back had just gone out. That was going to be it.
That's what I thought.
But no, they were able to push through, and Kurt hit some pretty hard bumps after that. Mm-hmm. So he really must have been relatively okay.
The closing segment of the match, he does the Bret kicks his legs out, and he does just throws himself back full force.
He does
twice,
like he's falling on his neck almost.
And I'm sitting there going you don't have to do that, Kurt. You don't have to do that. And I know this is 30 years ago, and you're no longer with us, but you didn't have to do that.
And it is nice that he does come back. He takes a year off, gets healthy, and is able to come back and wrestle again. But I think anyone would tell you that he never quite makes it back to this type of performance after this.
He has a couple of one-offs.
But grateful are we to cover this one, right? For that reason, and to put Bret Hart over before, the break, I think is incredible stuff, and it just speaks to the kind of man that Mr. Perfect is, Curt Hennig. So, man, a really, really special match. It almost feels out of place on that card,
because it's good.
Because it's really good, and it would have, and you put that match on today. And it's still really good.
Yeah, I think that gets the same reaction now as it did then.
Agreed. Really, really good stuff. So this is officially our halfway point of Season 4. So we have to rank it against 69 other matches. So where does Mr. Perfect versus Bret Hart, SummerSlam 1991, where does that rank on our list of the greatest matches of all time?
I think it goes somewhere in between number 37 and number 47, somewhere in that 10 number range.
So my brain sort of automatically travels to another torch passing moment in WWE. WrestleMania 19. Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels. It's not exactly the same, right? But it definitely feels like Shawn giving Chris the pat on the back here. And the storytelling in that ring is just excellent on that occasion. I think that one actually probably hits a little harder for me, though. Kofi Mania, same thing. Another really good one. That's maybe even a better story than what we get here. My ceiling, probably around Jeff Hardy versus The Undertaker. While, again, Hardy loses, so the torch isn't necessarily passed.
But Undertaker turns face by holding up his hand.
And it does. And it sort of reminds me of this transition period in WWE history where they needed to identify new stars and to find their up-and-coming talent and throw them in the deep end. And they tested some things out, and I do feel like Bret and Perfect accomplished that better. So I would say maybe around that match.
Okay, so
we're
40,
basically in the same range.
45-ish.
45
around that area
is where I'm floating.
I don't hate that. I definitely think this is not a match that's going to reach the top half of our list, I would say. And not to take anything away from it. It's a phenomenal match between two of the greatest to ever do it. But it's 18 minutes, which is totally fine. Like, I think that's a sufficient amount of time. But there's just not enough necessarily.
And I think that comes down to Kurt being hurt.
No, and it does, and it absolutely does. And so, again, like, I'm not docking it a ton for that, but I think it will keep it out of the top half of our list. So,
agreed.
The top half at that point would be 35. So if I go 35 and down, Landon, I appreciated your points, what you said. I think we've got some better wrestling matches that encompass sort of fuller stories, sort of in that area, including Kingston and Daniel Bryan. I actually like this somewhere in between Toyota and Hokuto at 40. And I would say my floor is probably Hart Bulldog because I do like this better than that one.
Okay.
So I would say 41 to 46 is where I stand.
So we're all in a very similar range.
Yeah.
But how about that? 2 episodes in a row where we're pretty consistent, which almost never happens for us. So I will take that. But now we have to narrow it down. So let's start with 45, which is where Landon was.
Yeah.
45 is Jeff Hardy versus Undertaker. Let's compare 1v1. Jeff Hardy, Undertaker, Hart, Perfect. Which is the better match?
I think I'll go with this one.
Yeah, I mean, and
Hart
I know
Perfect.
I definitely know you would, Spenser, because we've already had a long conversation about the issues with that one.
Yeah.
It's a great moment, and it's good for what it does for Jeff Hardy and for sort of giving the fans something that you just don't see. But this one is just such a unique point in time.
Yeah, agreed.
It's hard to think about a Bret Hart who has never won an Intercontinental Championship.
Man, 91 is a weird year in wrestling.
It is, and it's such an important moment. So yeah, I put it.
RoboCop came into a match. It's a weird year, man.
Okay, so
I put it over that.
Okay,
one, sure.
so that would put it at the new 45. Let's go up again. Edge versus Mick Foley, WrestleMania 22.
Ooh, I don't know. That's a hard one.
This one gets a little challenging.
Those are
again, it's apples and oranges. That's a very different match.
I was gonna say it's apricot and grapefruit.
I would have a difficult time arguing either way, which makes me comfortable.
Yeah, same.
Stopping right here.
I agree because I can't think of a argument for or against it, which means it must be where it must. Yes, 45.
Well, I think the interesting thing about that match is that Edge plays the role of Bret Hart a little bit, and not Edge had accomplished considerably more in terms of championships at that point, but and I say that just because of the tag titles and the WWE Championship he won after Money in the Bank, but he's the guy that's trying to break through to that next level. Mick Foley, sort of the Mr. Perfect in terms of, for different reasons, right? Mick Foley, obviously, his career was really kind of over. Mr. Perfect, his career was changing a lot because of his injuries. And so it was the guy who felt like he didn't have as much left to give, putting over the up-and-comer, so to speak. And so I think there's actually some comparisons there, despite the fact that they are very different visually and in terms of the type of matches they were. But Edge and Mick Foley, to me, is unforgettable. And Edge and Mick Foley come out of that match better for it.
Oh, absolutely.
And I would argue that Bret Hart comes out of this match in a much better position than Mr. Perfect does, for obvious reasons. So for that, I think I feel also comfortable keeping Foley, Edge at 44 and sliding in Perfect and Hart right there at 45.
Perfect. I love it.
We're halfway through season 4, boys. Halfway through season 4, because Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect at SummerSlam 1991 for the Intercontinental Championship is the 45th greatest wrestling match of all time.
Through 70.
Right? I cannot wait for the second half of season 4.
What's going to be 71? Let us know what you think.
Yeah, let us know what you think.
Not Goldberg.
not me already thinking about teasing the finale for season 4. We'll save it for a few episodes down the line. But it's been a great season so far. Definitely let us know what you're thinking. Hey, if you haven't watched Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect from SummerSlam 91, do yourself a favor and do it.
Oh, yeah.
It's on Peacock. Why would you not want to watch Peacock?
It's good.
Don't answer that rhetorical question. But point is, it was really, really awesome. Kudos to this match because it is a special one, and I'm glad that we were able to cover it. Thanks for those of you that suggested it to us.
Thank you.
And we have a great second half of season 4 coming up for you. And follow us on all of our social medias. You'll likely see some Twitter polls here in the very near future as well, so you can have your input in what you want us to cover on season 4. And also, we've got some other really, really interesting content for you, last trivia standings and stuff like that, that you can also look forward to. So follow our socials so you can keep up with everything that we're doing here at our end. And we can't wait to show you what we have left for season 4. So until episode 71, I'm Spencer.
I'm Paul.
I'm Landon.
And this is Last Match Standing.